How's Ryan here, and today we're putting the OPPO Find X8 Pro up against two of the more popular smartphones of the year, the Samsung Galaxy S24 Ultra and iPhone 16 Pro Max. So I've done several camera comparisons with the S24 Ultra and 16 Pro Max, so if you're interested, you can go back on the channel and check those out. Now the main differences here is that the S24 Ultra and X8 Pro are going to have dual telephoto cameras, and the iPhone is just going to have a single telephoto camera. And so now we have portrait video turned on the front-facing cameras, and that's cinematic video on the iPhone. We should not be seeing this artificial background blur effect, so you can compare that to the footage that you just saw in this same indoor setting without it. But like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions, so you can decide for yourself which of these three smartphones are going to suit your smartphone camera needs the best. So take a look at all the photos and videos, and let me know what you think. OPPO 3X telephoto, so that's too close. We'll back out. That looks in focus. And there you go. OPPO 6X telephoto, that's too close. Back out, and that's actually still pretty close and pretty much in focus. So it looks like you get closer with the 6X telephoto. S24 Ultra minimum focusing distance for the 3X telephoto is really good. You can see you get really close to your subject. Right there it's out of focus, so we'll back out, and it still focuses here. So that's pretty close. We'll take that shot. Very much in focus. Looks good. Now the 5X telephoto can also get pretty close to your subject. So right here it's too close. We back out just a little bit. And it's perfectly in focus. iPhone telephoto test. Right now it's locked in on the telephoto. If you move in, you can see it switched right there back to the main fusion camera. You can back up a little bit. You see it switch back, so that's the telephoto minimum focusing distance there, so we'll just take that shot. Kevin, so we're testing out the rear cameras on the OPPO Find X8 Pro, iPhone 16 Pro Max, and Galaxy S24 Ultra. As you can see, they are all recording from the rear-facing cameras, and we're starting out with the ultra-wide-angle cameras on each at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'm just going to record this side by side here and pan around so you can see all three ultra-wide-angle cameras in this location. And there is going to be some background noise, there's some activity there, so it might be just a good test of the microphones anyway. And so let's go ahead and move into the main camera on each. So on the OPPO, on the S24 Ultra, and on the iPhone. So now we have all three main cameras. I'll do the same thing, just pan around in the same location so you get a side-by-side view of all three main cameras here. And then I'll just pan down and then back up to see if they adjust for exposure, for the difference in lighting. And we'll pan over to the right and we'll test the telephoto cameras or the zoom on each. So on the OPPO, 3x telephoto here. On the Samsung, same thing, 3x. And then we'll just go to a matching digital zoom on the iPhone for 3x. So there you go. And then we'll go into the 6x telephoto on the OPPO, the 5x telephoto on the Samsung, and then the 5x telephoto on the iPhone. So I'll just hold it here so you get a side-by-side view of all three. And then we can move into, let's go to maybe 10x here on each. So iPhone, OPPO, and go to Samsung. So that's 10x on each. I'm just going to pan side by side so you can see all three because I can't line them up perfectly. And then let's go into the max 15x digital zoom on the iPhone, the max 18x here on the OPPO, and the max 20x here on the Samsung. All three looking pretty clear and fairly steady. All right, and we'll back them all out. iPhone, OPPO, Samsung. Let's test the autofocus here on the post. So there we go. Might be tough to line up all three, but we'll try. And one more time. All right, and let's go ahead and test the stabilization. We'll walk down the stairway here and into the path so you can see side by side what the stabilization looks like on all three. And then I'm just gonna jog to try to stress out that stabilization a bit. So there you go, quick 4K test here on the OPPO Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. Hey everyone, so we're testing the rear cameras again on the OPPO Find X8 Pro, iPhone 16 Pro Max, and Galaxy S24 Ultra, this time with portrait video on all three. So you should see this artificial background blur going on. And I'm outdoors, but in the shade, so exposure should be fairly even across the board, and they should be performing pretty well here. But if I turn on this way, you can see what it looks like with the sun shining directly on me, which should also look good because this effect needs a good amount of light. You're just gonna see some of the shade across the bill of my cap. But we'll pan around this way, and we'll see how these cameras hold up directly into the sunlight. So you can see the sun shining directly into these cameras right now, and how that effect holds up and what the picture quality looks like there. And I'll just start walking so we can test stabilization and how this background effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about portrait video here on the Find X8 Pro, iPhone 16 Pro Max, and Galaxy S24 Ultra.
Let's go!
So we're testing the front-facing video on the OPPO Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. This is being recorded at 4K 30 frames per second, and you just might hear some activity and some noise because, again, I'm outdoors in the park and there's some things going on here. But I want to show you this footage because I'm in some pretty good lighting here, so you can see what these front-facing cameras can do in some pretty good lighting outdoors. But if I pan around this way, you can see what it looks like here with the sun shining directly on me. So you can see the exposure is pretty even across the board. You're just going to get some shade across the bill of my cap because of that. But if we pan all the way around this way, you can see what it looks like with the sun shining directly into these cameras right now and how that's affecting the exposure and the overall picture quality here. And we'll just go ahead and start walking so you can see the stabilization between these three front-facing cameras side by side. So let me know what you think about the front-facing video here on the OPPO Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. Everyone, we're back with front-facing cameras, this time with portrait video on all three cameras between the Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. And in this mode, just note that the OPPO can only shoot in 1080p, while the Samsung and the iPhone can shoot in 4K. And so again, this is some pretty good lighting. I'm in a bit of shade, so they're going to be the best opportunity for these cameras to perform pretty well without overexposing. But if we turn around this way, you can see what it looks like here with the sun shining directly on me, and that should help out the effect, but you're going to see a little bit more of the shade from the below my cap. But we pan this way and you can see how this effect holds up with the sun shining directly into these cameras here. And then we'll just go ahead and start walking so I can see how these three cameras perform with this effect with some motion. So let me know what you think about portrait video here on the Find X8 Pro, S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. So here's a low light video test of the rear facing cameras on the OPPO Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. This is the ultra wide angle camera to start with on each at 4K 30 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan around here so you get a side-by-side view of all three of these ultra wide angle cameras. And we'll go ahead and try to move into the main camera on each. So let's go and try the OPPO, the Samsung, and the iPhone. So there is the main camera on all three. And as always, the main cameras usually are larger, lighted more light, and you can see the tree line there got brighter, a lot more distinct definition against that skyline there with those trees. And again, I'll just pan around here so you get a side-by-side view of all three of these main cameras and how they're handling that really bright street light there. And let's go ahead and move into one of the telephoto cameras here. So let's go 3 times on the OPPO. We go 3 times on the Samsung. You can get there we go. And let's see, telephoto, I guess 5 times on the iPhone. So there's the 3 telephoto lenses here. I'll just pan around side by side so you get a view of what this looks like. And for some reason that Galaxy S24 Ultra 3x telephoto always looks kind of like a weird tint in low light like that. But let's move into the 5x telephoto on the Galaxy. There is a 6x telephoto on the OPPO, and we'll stay here at 5x on the iPhone. So you can see what I mean by that weird tint there from the S24 Ultra. The OPPO is looking really dark with that 1/2-inch sensor, at least in the viewfinder anyway. Looks a lot better, as you can see, with some light here. But those are all the telephoto lenses side by side. And let's go ahead and move back out to the main lens, Samsung, OPPO, and let's see if we can get the iPhone. There we go. And we'll pan around this way and we'll just walk to test stabilization, as well as how they handle these light transitions from that really bright light to this darker stretch here along this path over to the really bright street light again around the corner. And again, as always, pay attention to micro jitters. It happens, just depends on how much on each device. You can see that really bright light right there. And all three of these are probably gonna flare that out pretty badly because it is really bright. But we'll stop here, we'll pan up into the night sky. Clear night, so it should be dark. You can see if there's any noise introduced by these cameras, especially because you got that really bright light behind us right now. But you can see some stars in the sky right now. And let's pan back this way so you can see how they are in this mixed lighting situation with the lights off the building, the really bright light to the right, and this darker stretch of grass in the middle. So there's some 4K video test here at night from the Find X8 Pro, S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. Let me know what you think. So here's a low light video test of the front facing cameras of the Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. This is being shot at 4K 30 frames per second, and I'm in my usual testing spot here at night with some good light around me, so you can see how these front facing cameras can perform with some decent amount of light. And so if I move over here, you'll see all the lights going down the row there, including that really bright street light in the back, and see how these front facing cameras are handling that. Every camera's going to flare that out. I just want to show that to you, just in case you like shooting with these front-facing cameras at night and you've got some really bright lights, you'll know what to expect. But as you walk this way, you can see the stabilization side by side on all three of these front-facing cameras, as well as how they're performing in a little bit less light in this stretch of the walkway. And we'll just pull up here and pan all the way around like we always do, so I can show you how they handle a bunch of those really bright lights. See if I can get them all on all three cameras. And then we'll go ahead and back over to this darker area, just so you get a side-by-side view of all three of these cameras in this particular lighting situation. And let me know what you thought about the overall comparison between the OPPO Find X8 Pro, Galaxy S24 Ultra, and iPhone 16 Pro Max. How'd the OPPO do against what many would consider two of the best, or at least most popular smartphones of 2024 here, and also more expensive. But overall, OPPO usually performs very well with the cameras. I thought no different here. It's just gonna depend on what you prefer and what your needs are. If you like the flexibility of dual telephoto lenses, OPPO's a really nice buy for you. So is Samsung, because they have the dual telephoto as well, except they have a better minimum focusing distance. The S24 Ultra telephoto cameras, you get closer to your subject if you want to take macro photos with your telephoto lenses. And of course you have the iPhone that has its 5x telephoto as well. And overall, all three main cameras did pretty well to me. So it's just gonna come down to preference. What processing did you like, and what your camera needs are gonna be. Let me know what yours are in the comments, and if you have any other questions, leave them down below as well. I'll try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.